Welcome in, everybody. Tony Caridi along with newly named WVU soccer coach Dan Stratford. You look good in that blue again, I'll tell you that much, in that flying WV. How's that feel to put on?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I've had to wear it in secret for the last 6 years. So anytime I'd go and catch a basketball game or a football game when it didn't conflict with our schedule, I allowed myself to put some WVU gear on. But outside of that, it's been maroon and gold for 6 years. But
yeah, absolutely.
Really happy to be back.
And what a run it was at the University of Charleston. Obviously now you want to take that type of winning success and bring it here. When the job opened initially, did you instantly say to yourself, I'm interested in the WVU job, or was there any hesitancy?
I've been interested in this job for about 15 years. No, there was no real hesitancy other than making sure that I obviously went through the process as respectfully as I could to what I had in place at UC, and making sure that, I hope that I've left that in a fantastic place and better than I found it, and that that's something that's now built to last. There will be nothing more pleasing to see them go on and win it again next year. But obviously, when an opportunity like this arises, I think it's more than my emotional ties and alumni connection. I think this is a place that can be incredibly successful. And given the success we were able to build and sustain at UC, I was never going to go somewhere that I didn't feel had the potential to do that as well. So that had a huge part to the decision.
What intrigues you about saying those things to say, hey, West Virginia can get it done here? What are the pieces around it that lead you to believe that it can be very successful?
I think you've only got to look at what the women have done. They've played in a national championship in the last 3 or 4 years. Their ability to sustain their success in and around a top 10 team in the country. From an outsider's perspective, I fail to see why that couldn't be possible here on the men's side as well. They've obviously shown an ability to recruit to Morgantown, West Virginia, not just once, but as I said, sustain that success as well. So with respect, I don't think the men's program has quite been in that conversation just yet. They flirted with it. They've had some good years. They've had some amazing results at different times, but for whatever reason hasn't been able to do it consistently. So I want to figure that out as quickly as I can. I think the first month or so is going to be a lot about me learning what works. At the same time, this program is by no means broken. It has a great foundation. It's made the national tournament 2 years in a row. So it's really probably some small things that need changing and need implementing to take it to the next step.
Dan, let's talk a little philosophy here. A Mountaineer soccer fan, when they see your end product on the field, what will the style of play be?
I think one that excites. I think if you can excite your players about what it is you're trying to implement, that excites the fans as well. You want the fans to feel like they've left and want to come back. They want to come to the next game. It shouldn't be a struggle to watch the program, but that should translate to the player as well, to the student athlete. They should look like they're enjoying themselves. It should be serious fun. You want them to be excited. You want them to enjoy it. But at the same time, they have to know what they need to do. They have to know how to implement it. I'd like to think from a tactical element, I'm incredibly detail-oriented from that standpoint. I want to make it really clearly define their roles, but where appropriate, give them a lot of freedom as well to play creatively and to express themselves from that standpoint. So, yeah, I think it would be easy to just look at what we've been able to do statistically and say we're not going to concede many and we're going to score as many as possible. Of course you want that, but there's plenty of ways to do it. I think what's important is learning what do we have here, what are the strengths of the team right now, and how do we adapt to be as effective as we possibly can.
Every coach is going to put his thumbprint or his culture into a program. What are the first foundation posts that you'll be building here?
It's really clear. For me, it's about honesty, humility, ownership, and accountability. If this program is as successful as possible, it will run itself, in the sense that the players will take ownership for themselves, for one another. They'll police each other in that regard. When I can just worry about what we need to do to beat the next opponent, what we're looking to do from a tactical perspective, and that aspect of the culture is spot on, it just makes your life so much easier. So, I think from that standpoint, obviously in some of the initial meetings I've had with the players, they feel like the locker room, that aspect of how the team is in a really good place. So hopefully we're further along than maybe I may have thought. But certainly, I think them taking that ownership, them being honest with themselves and one another and the staff as well. I want to be honest with a student athlete, whether they're playing with it or not. What position do they find themselves in relation to the roster? But then come up with a solution together in terms of how we can do that. I think it's more about the performance than the result. It's more about the bigger picture, the 4-year plan. I think development is a word that's not really associated with the collegiate athlete experience, and that's something that we try and preach a lot in my philosophy.
We chatted earlier this week, and you said that your dad, who is a coach, was the greatest coach that you ever had. What are some of those traits that he left with you that you want to make sure that you bring with you?
And that's exactly it. I think it's that relationship with the player. Obviously there's a relationship. He was my father, but when you go through the hundreds and hundreds of former players that he had in his coaching career, the number of players that I played with that were influenced by him, that always, if I catch up with them, maybe I haven't seen him in 10 years, how's your dad? They ask that question maybe before they ask how I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So, he just touched so many people because he cared. And I think it can't be a scenario where the players have this perception of, I'm looking at them thinking, what are you doing to serve me? What have you done for me lately? They need to see that I'm there for them. The most important thing that I'll look to do over the course of the spring is earn their trust. Now that works both ways, but it's important that they feel comfortable in my presence, comfortable with the whole staff, that they want to come up and spend time with us, and that you build that connection with the players. I think if you recruit good players and you create an environment where they're happy, that's a long way towards the battle of having a pretty successful product.
As you know, it's always the wins and the losses. However, I get a sense from you that to you, it's literally changing lives over the course of their 4 years that they're here. That's where you get excited.
I love their process. I love their journey. I think when you, not to sound corny, but when you recruit a boy, when you recruit someone that's a young adolescent that quite honestly, with respect to them, isn't an adult yet, and you influence that journey to someone that's equipped with the ability to go in a lot of different directions from a professional standpoint, whether it was playing or not, someone that's performed well academically, and then someone that has the social skills to, if you like, be a productive member of society, to feel like you can take a little bit of credit for that is really, really special. Of course, winning can supplement that, no doubt. We'll definitely try to do that as well. But I feel like I'm doing my job when these players graduate, give back to the community, give back and serve their profession well, and hopefully I've had a positive influence on them along the way.
Let's talk a little recruiting, because soccer is unique in all of collegiate sports in that you truly can recruit globally. I mean, everyone is playing the game. How do you envision that taking place, your recruiting base?
I think with, again, understanding and identifying what we had access to at Charleston, obviously maybe forced us to look a little more international. I certainly don't disregard the quality of player that's coming through domestically. And now I'm quite excited about that piece with respect to UC. It was incredibly challenging to get a top-level Division I athlete. Now we have the potential of recruiting that player here, and they have had players of that stature here before. So I'm excited to get started on that front. But as I've said before, it would be narrow-minded of us not to look at it as a global market. And I think that's a huge asset that I bring in the sense of spending the last 6 years across probably 14 or 15 different countries. UC was represented by 27 different countries last year. So I have experience recruiting in those different countries. I have experience dealing with players from a different culture, a different background. And how do you take such a diverse group and make it the most inclusive environment you can? That again is one of the more enjoyable, pleasurable parts of what I get to do. Is as successful as we were last year, I enjoy watching them from the month of September through to November, December, and just seeing how they are in the locker room, how they are when they interact with each other on the road, and seeing how that develops, how those friendships form. And quite honestly, a lot of that aspect of things, a lot of the philosophy, a lot of the culture, the core values is so deeply rooted in my time here as a player. It's what I went through as a student athlete here at WVU. So I think being able to tell that story along with 2 assistant coaches who I shared that time with as a student athlete can make for a pretty powerful recruiting pitch, I hope.
I get the feeling that after a 15-year wait, you are ready to do this.
I think so. I hope so. I'm obviously really excited. Again, the first month really needs to be getting a sense of where the program's at right now, seeing how far away we are from some substantial growth. But no, this has come at a really good time for me. I'm obviously incredibly excited. It does feel like a bit of a homecoming for me, and now it's kind of counting down the days until the fall of 2020.
We wish you the best. Appreciate the time.
Thanks very much, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.